And now, from the Echelon Studios in Los Angeles, California, it's the How She Got Her Start podcast.
So let's all get started with your host, Jerri Hemsworth.
Hi there. Welcome to How She Got Her Start. This is Jerri Hemsworth. And I'm sitting here today with Jennifer Felten with Relaw. How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. So cool. I'm so excited to have you here because How She Got Her Start has been a dream of mine to talk with women executives and women business owners about their journey. We all have something to share because all of our stories are so unique. And your story is pretty cool. And I love the uniqueness of your story. So let's start a little bit first, a short bit. What is Relaw? What is Relaw about and what do you do?
Yeah, so Relaw is a law firm. We focus on representing businesses in the real estate industry. So escrow companies, title companies, real estate brokers, real estate developers, the people who make real estate their business, we make our business.
Gotcha.
Because of the unique regulations that affect that industry, you really need a specialist who can understand and guide you, because our advice is not what you would get for a normal business often, because there's rules and regulations that specifically impact the industry. So we're really that advocate for the industry and able to guide people to manage risk.
Now, where did you go to law school?
I went to Southwestern.
Okay.
Here in Los Angeles.
What did you intend to go into real estate law at? Well, I know that, hang on. Listener, we're backtracking a little bit first because I do know the answer to this. Let's back up even more. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Southern California. So I was born at Queen of the Valley in West Covina. And then when I went to high school, we moved to Glendale. And then I went to UCLA right out of high school. I got pregnant.
Oh,
Right out of high school.
okay.
I literally got pregnant
boy.
in summer school before school even started
Oh, my
at
gosh.
UCLA.
Okay.
So I dropped out. I moved out to Thousand Oaks. That's where my first husband lived. And I had to get a job and figure out what to do with myself and raise a family, and, total shift in mindset,
Now, did you have intentions on ever going to law school?
I did not.
What was sort of
No.
your dream as a kid what did you want to do?
I was a psychobio major.
A psycho-bio major.
I wanted to be a psychiatrist.
Okay.
Right. So that was
Yeah.
when I went off
That's
to
med,
UCLA,
yeah.
I was pre-med, psycho-bio major.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. And like I said, that first
Yeah.
quarter, I finished the first quarter and
Okay.
then dropped out.
Left turn. Big left turn.
Oh yeah,
And you had a daughter.
I did.
Yeah.
So she's now 30.
Wow.
But at the time, I had to get a job, right?
Yes.
I had to grow up really quickly. And my first husband's sister was in real estate. She was a sales rep for a title company.
Okay.
And so she
Did
got
you even know
me-
what a title company was?
I didn't know what title was. I didn't know anything about real estate, right? I just needed a job. And she got me an interview at the company she was with, and they hired me to do what they call customer service. So in the real estate industry at title companies, they support the real estate agents, and they provide them information about properties, and they provide labels so that they can send out postcards at the time, right? Like things
Sure.
are a lot done more technology wise today, but we did labels, right? So it was called farming.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I did farms. That was my first.
Oh my.
And running messengers here, there, and everywhere to pick up this package and drop these documents here and there and everywhere.
Now, was it fairly flexible? You were a young mom.
No,
I
it
mean,
was a full-time, regular hours job,
Yeah.
barely above minimum wage, honestly. It
Yeah.
was really entry level. And that's really where I found my passion for real estate. I really did enjoy what I was doing and learning, and I saw lots of big numbers.
You're like, whoa, that's a lot of money.
And also, that the company I was at also had escrow in the office.
Gotcha.
And so they were all women, which they almost are still today, right? Most escrow people are women.
Yeah, they really are.
They are.
Interesting.
And women multitask better than men do.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a biological
And
thing.
escrow requires a ton of multitasking. But so they also had nice cars and nice jewelry and, you know, things that I wanted. And I was like, okay, so how do I get over there?
Yeah.
Right.
Enough farming.
Right.
Wow.
You know, I learned about, I can read a chain of title. I understand how documents work. I learned that piece of the industry, but I also then learned the transactional doing deals and, you know, real estate on that end is apprentice work, right? You don't go to college and get a degree.
They don't teach that.
In escrow, right?
No.
There's no school that has an escrow degree.
We'll have to see about that.
It's something I actually, I teach for a company that teaches escrow people because there's just no resources, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like being a plumber or any other sort of trade. It's
a trade.
Where you have to work at it and learn from other people, and hopefully you learn from someone who does it right.
Yes.
You know, so I joke that I went to the Mary Patterson School of Escrow because that was my first escrow officer, right? And that's who you learn from.
Sure.
And I loved it. And again, I kept like, could I get more data? How can I get more information? Right.
Yes.
And I got good at it and I enjoyed it. And so over time, I was, you know, going up the ranks in that. But there really was a glass ceiling in the industry. Even today, the title companies are almost all male managed and run. My best case scenario was maybe being the manager of an escrow office.
But you wanted more than just being a manager.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I could make more money as an escrow officer than an escrow manager because it's commission driven, right? So I was making good money, but one, it's a lot of work and very little respect, right? It's a hard job. And so I did want more. And that's where I was like, okay, where do I go?
What's next?
How do I take this real estate passion and desire and take it, you know, turn it up a notch?
Sure.
But now understand, I don't even have an undergraduate degree.
That's
at
right.
this
That's
point.
right. That's right. Because
Right?
you didn't finish it up.
No,
Yeah.
I dropped out my
Your
first
daughter,
quarter.
yes.
Right? So I first had to go back and get my undergraduate degree.
Gotcha.
So I did that while I was still working in escrow.
And where'd you go back to?
I went back to UCLA.
You did?
Yeah.
Great.
So
Okay.
I had gone in, you know, I was a high achiever kid. So I had gone in as a sophomore when I went to UCLA. And I had taken classes and, you know, kept up and kept my grades so that I was still admittable and all of that. So I went back and finished in 3 years.
Nice.
And at that time, I did mobile notaries. So I actually started a mobile notary business. So I did that to pay my bills when I went back and finished my undergrad. Because UCLA, I had to go during the day.
Yeah, but that's pretty brilliant to be a notary and to be able to be flexible.
Right. Well,
Wow.
it was, you had to figure it out, right?
Yeah, sure.
Like, I want to get my degree. I need to pay the bills. I have a child, right? And I'm divorced at this point, right?
Gotcha.
So there was no...
It's just you and her.
Right. So we were, you know, figuring it out. So I went back and did that. And then, you know, I did all that hard work, right? You know, and then the jobs I could get with my poli-sci degree were way less money than what I was making as an escrow officer, right?
Oh.
Because escrow was commission based. So I was making good money. I'm getting offers for $40,000 a year jobs.
Like, hang on.
I'm like, I went back to school for this.
Yeah. Oh, back the truck up.
Wait a second.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm back in escrow, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, so that's when I was like, okay, I have to go to law school. I have to take it to that level where I can run a business and control my world.
But now, did you have sights on owning your own law firm, or did you think, okay, I can stay in escrow and manipulate in that universe, in that fishbowl?
I wanted to own my own company.
Okay.
I'm that kind of I'm not a good employee.
Yeah.
I'm not. I have really strong opinions and I want to
Yeah.
do things my way. And I think I'm right. I mean, I have all those,
you know,
personality traits.
That's because we are.
And so I'm not a good employee. I push back and so it's not easy for someone to have me as their employee any more than it is easy for me to be an employee. So I knew I wanted to build my own thing. What RELAW is today, that wasn't envisioned in, right? But the concept of going out on my own and building something was there. How wasn't quite. I knew I wanted to do real estate, right? I'd built a knowledge base and an interest.
Did you do much research into the real estate legal realm?
No, not really.
No,
honestly,
you're just going. This is what I'm doing.
I'm doing this,
Yeah,
right?
got it. Yeah.
I mean, I knew that I knew I could start my own firm, right? I could build something. Again, really, there was still a lot of gray space in what it was going to be and how it is today.
Sure.
But it was the beginnings were there, right? The ideas and the dream, and having that target gave me the motivation to do the things that I had to do to get there, because I worked full time and went to law school at night, and had to make that work.
So you were a notary by day, you have your daughter, and you're going to law school at night.
When I went to law school, I was actually working as an escrow officer.
Wow.
So,
okay.
And things like, so we live in Thousand Oaks, which is, depending on traffic, an hour to an hour and a half from Southwestern.
Sure.
So I was working at a company in Westlake Village out by us. I had to go change. I had to go work for an escrow company in Beverly Hills because I couldn't get to law school. I couldn't get to class on time driving out. So I'd drive in the morning to Beverly Hills so that I could then get to classes at night.
So you really didn't see your daughter.
It was challenging several years. And she's in, middle school, right? And all that when all this is going on.
Sure.
So I am blessed. My first husband was a very good father.
Nice.
We weren't a great couple, but he was, and he was very involved. So she wasn't, just left.
Yeah.
She was with her dad.
I was going to ask you what your support system was during all of that.
He was a really good dad.
That's fantastic.
Right? And he still is. He's still very involved with her. And,
nice.
We have grandkids now. So
yeah, she's got little ones.
She has 3.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That blows me away.
But so I knew I had the images, right? But I had to put, it was like a puzzle piece, right?
Sure.
And maybe I had the edge.
Yeah.
I
had the border.
Right? But now we've had to put the pieces in place, right? And even that took time. I mean, I didn't go out on my own the day I got my law degree. Law school does not teach you how to be a lawyer or run a law firm.
Very few degrees do.
Law, I would say in particular, is very lacking on detail.
It's all theory and book and law.
It's theory and thinking, how to think. Which is an amazing skill, right? A good lawyer who has learned how to problem solve is invaluable, whether they work as a lawyer or not.
Right. Sure.
So in that regard, it was extremely valuable. I wouldn't change it for the world, but I was in no way ready to practice on my own or run a business on my own. It didn't give me any of those skills.
Yeah.
So I worked for another firm for several years.
What kind of firm was that? Was it in real estate?
It was. They did subdivision work.
Interesting.
So forming homeowners associations.
Oh.
So, and I had done subdivision escrows when I was an escrow officer. So I knew the documents. I had baselines in the industry. The firm I went to work for was a company I had done business with as an escrow officer. And again, I took a pay cut to become a lawyer. I was making more commissions as an escrow officer than I did when I got a job.
And had you put away savings or anything? Or?
No, I borrowed a lot.
Yeah. There's that thing called plastic.
And we student loans, right? Yeah. When you're going to law school, I borrowed $100,000 to go to law school.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, it was a big commitment. I mean, we really did take big risks.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Obviously they've paid off, but it was a huge risk.
Right.
I get this all the time. Did you pass the bar on the first time? I was like, was there an option?
Yeah.
Right. Like I spent $100,000.
Doesn't everybody?
Dug all my time and effort into this. I'm not going to pass. Right?
No, that's truly, it's not an option.
No, it wasn't an option to not pass.
Right.
Right.
Failure is not an option.
No.
Right.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I did that. And then I went in as a transactional lawyer. I actually never wanted to litigate. That wasn't, I didn't go in it. Like I didn't plan on being Perry Mason or
didn't want to fight. I'm not going to fight.
I really went in with that transactional mindset. Well, and the timing is now all of a sudden the real estate market crashes, right?
Oh God.
07, 08.
Yep. 08.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And our firm, all of a sudden I was a litigator because all of our projects were now in litigation.
Oh boy.
And they literally was like, okay, you get to go to court. And I was like, what do you mean I get to go to court? And they're like, no, you get to go to court. And all of a sudden I had to learn, and no one else in the firm did it. So I literally learned how to litigate.
Why did they pick you? I mean,
because I would do it, I guess.
yeah.
Because I didn't say no.
Give it to Jen. She can do it.
You know, and I would, and I am that type of, I'll try things, right?
Sure.
I'm not afraid to try things. And so we figured it out and we did well. I mean, we figured it out.
Did you like it though?
I don't love litigating. It's not my personality. For all that I'm, like I said, very headstrong. I actually am all about compromise. That really is my,
I see that in you.
My problem solving is all about, like, our mission statement has mitigate in the word, right? Like you know, people will call and be like, I need a bulldog. And I'm like, well, here's some 5 other attorneys to talk to. We're not bulldogs. That is not our mindset. If you want to solve this problem for the least cost and less pain, that's where we're at. So I don't love litigating from that perspective. At least litigating with attorneys who are respectful and reasonable, and kind of, when you go at it that way, often even people who aren't in their traditional style will come that way, right? You kind of drag them into.
It's almost that influence of.
Correct. They can't be mean when you're being so nice.
Well, and I don't know if you find this, Jen, because it's almost like I kick into a different word. I use different words to sort of, it's a whole different source, if you will.
Yeah.
And that's how I get the respect.
It's first you have to give it.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
So always in our correspondence and in dealing with the other side, there's the respect and the appreciation, and how can we solve this problem? How can we get the best results for both of our clients?
Right.
And when they know you're coming at it from that point, they're much more likely to come to you.
Yes.
They don't all.
Right. You still get the pain in the butts.
But you're going to get 90% of them to come to that place and work with them versus the nastiness of what litigation can be.
Oh my gosh.
And you know, 60% of our practice is litigation at this point. So,
but you're not the litigator.
I'm not.
You are not the litigator.
I am not the technician.
So at what point did RELAW become a nugget in your head? You're litigating at this firm, subdivision specialty firm. And at what point do you say, okay, it's time?
I got pregnant.
Again?
Amazingly, pregnancy has all this impact on my life, right?
Left turn again.
Right? So Amanda's 18. She goes off to college, right? My oldest daughter, and I get pregnant. And I'm commuting to Beverly Hills to go work at this firm.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm working long hours, and I had just gotten through getting her launched, right? Off to college. And, you know, it was an hour to an hour and a half commute each way every day. And things like, if there was a soccer game at school, I'd have to leave at like noon to get to the game, and then I'd have to work all night. And, you know, there was a fire one day, right? It took me like 5 hours to get home, right? It rains and the canyon gets closed, and then traffic's, right? So I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, she was a teenager. She had her own car. It was functional.
Independent. Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to have an infant. I am not going to be an hour and a half away from an infant and having to manage these things, right? My husband was very successful. My second husband.
Yes.
Very successful professionally. We could have survived on
what was he
his
doing?
income. Fred is a electrical engineer by education. So he has a electrical engineering degree from Purdue. And then he went to Pepperdine and got an MBA.
Gotcha.
So he was a program manager for a company called AeroVironment.
Okay.
They make drones.
Okay.
And so he was doing fine. He was making good money. We could have survived on one income. And we were at that point. We're having a new kid. We're like, okay, I'll just work at home. I'll start my own thing.
Just a project
We'll see
here
what
and there.
happens.
Yeah.
Right. I can do it out of the house.
We'll take a project.
Little bit of extra money, right?
Yeah.
It'll be fine. And so I did that. And my first client I got was Bank of America.
Oh, nothing like starting small.
Oh, nothing.
Holy
No big deal.
crow. Oh my gosh. Now, how did that come to you? I mean,
My ex-husband worked at Bank of America.
bless his heart.
I have a good relationship. Like
Yeah,
I always
that's
say, I'm
amazing.
happily divorced.
Oh,
We co-raised a child, and he was very responsible.
That's
Again, we weren't a
fantastic.
great couple, but we still get along
Better friends.
very well.
Yeah.
And he was working at B of A, and this is when, again, we've gone through this mortgage meltdown. So B of A had taken over Countrywide.
yes.
And Countrywide didn't know what underwriting was when it came to loans and property transactions. So they had a portfolio of properties that were distressed in a whole bunch of different ways, whether they had a title issue, they had legal description issues, they had loan issues, right? Just the plethora. I mean, one of them was in South Carolina, and there had been a hurricane, and the water level on the island had gone up like 10 feet. And literally when you did like a Google Maps, the dot for the house is in the middle of the ocean.
oh my gosh.
But B of A still owned it. And they were still paying property taxes on it. But legally, once it's so far away from the shore, it's regulated differently. So we literally had to negotiate with the island to take title, to get it off of B of A's books, so that they didn't own this dot
Sure. It's just literally a dot. Yeah.
that they're paying property taxes
Yeah.
on, right?
Right.
So things like that. So B of A had this portfolio, and so he just started hiring me to do this. And because I had done title and escrow,
Right.
I, like most attorneys, didn't know this kind of stuff. So we could fix all these problems like really simply. They weren't hard to solve if you knew what you were doing.
Sure.
But most lawyers, their first thing was file some sort of lawsuit.
Right.
Well, I only filed a lawsuit if I could not solve it. As an escrow officer, you have to clear title issues, and you don't have a lawsuit.
That's right.
As an option.
Right.
So those skills were like invaluable.
So you're just building blocks for
So
you.
we were getting these things cleaned up. So like he becomes number one in his group, right? Because we're cleaning all this stuff up quickly and cheaply.
Okay.
So all of his friends are like, oh, who are you using? So now they're all using,
Oh boy.
right?
Meanwhile,
So we have this portfolio,
Back at the barn.
hundreds
Right.
of properties that B of A is giving us to clear title on. And then I get pregnant again.
I sense a theme with you.
And things are getting really overwhelming, right? And so I actually merged the firm with another firm at that point. So this is pre-law.
Yeah.
That firm had a different name. And I it was a lot. And so we merged with another firm, and I was with them for a couple of years. And we cleaned up all that stuff, and I was starting to build my brand in other ways.
Right.
And at one point it got to that point where it was like, where I was going and where they were going wasn't the same.
Wasn't the same. Sure.
And that's when RELAW was born. And we literally, because their office was in Orange County.
Oh.
And so I kept the Westlake office. They kept Orange County. I kept the staff. I took over the lease, and off we went.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was that.
Yeah. So that's how RELAW started.
And how many attorneys were with you at that point?
I had one attorney and one staff. So we were a tight little group. There were three of us.
Tight little group of three.
Yeah.
And how many?
So-
and that what year was that?
It's 8 years ago.
8 years
So
ago.
yeah, RELAW's 8 years old.
And how many attorneys are with you now?
I have 5 attorneys besides myself, and then 6 staff. So
6 staff.
yeah.
And you kind of transitioned from doing the day-to-day legal work, didn't you?
I did.
What was the reason behind that?
Well, it started with me trying to do everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what
we
you
do as business owners.
And you're just trying to figure everything out, right? And again, it goes back to there was no education to learn how to do this. And I happen to be a good rainmaker. I am good at bringing in business, but I wasn't good at managing the business. I definitely didn't have, as an escrow officer, it's commission based. So I learned how to sell.
Yeah.
Right. And most lawyers don't learn how to sell. It's not a skill, and they don't see themselves as salespeople. There's a confidence, arrogance. I don't know, that we're professionals. We're above it.
Right.
It's
right.
bullshit.
Yeah.
Or
Of course.
right.
We all have to sell.
We sell.
Yes. Yes.
And if you do it well, you do well.
Yes.
Right. And so I took that mindset and that customer service focus into a law firm. And so we were able to build a client base really quickly who are very loyal and who bring their friends. And, so we that was not my problem.
Right.
My problem wasn't getting business. It was managing what came in. And, my niche knowledge was valuable. And so most people wanted to work with me because they knew I knew things. And I had I have a business coach now. So we call it the superhero cape, right?
Yeah.
I had to be the hero, right? I had that mindset. And so at one point I had like 6 employees, but I was still giving more work to myself than the rest of them combined. And then when one of them would actually want help, I'd yell at them because I didn't have time to help them because I was trying to do all the other work.
Stuff.
And then all their stuff would just literally pile up because it couldn't go out without me reviewing it, heaven forbid.
Wow.
Right. So all of that, and it was imploding.
Right.
Because I physically couldn't do it all.
And your stomach and your gut knew this, and you must have been churning.
It was torture.
Yes.
I was miserable, and everybody else was miserable. Right. Because that's just, it didn't work.
Right.
And literally, you know how sometimes these things happen. I literally get this email and it says, "Are you overworked? Like, do you feel like you have to do everything?" Right? Like it had all the and I'm
speaking to me.
"Yes, I do. Yes, yes,
And
right?
yes again. Yes.
Well, call us and we'll evaluate your firm and help you." Right? So it was the coaching company. Literally, I got a random solicitation from my coaching company.
Wow.
And I called them that day, and I've had a coach
me.
ever since.
Wow. That's good marketing.
It was just the right place at the right time with the right message. And then it was the right fit, right? I mean, I encourage any business owner to get a business coach. If you really want to grow your business. If you just want to do, your thing and be a solo, great, you're fine. But if you really want to build something, you need support.
And ease your stress level. What was it? When did you realize, after getting the coach and putting other systems in place and workflows in place, did you feel the stress ease immediately, or did it take time?
It got worse before it got better.
Really?
Right. Because one, it's transition, right? And 2, it is building the systems. And so some things didn't go right? Things would go wrong.
Trial and error.
Right. And you're trying to put the systems in place and still do everything you're trying to do. So we called it drinking from a fire hose, right? So we literally, and the coaching company we use called Atticus, they are amazing. If you're an attorney, they're an amazing company. But you have to do the work. They don't just come in and fix your problems. They give you the tools for you to fix your problems. And they focus on 4 areas. Profitability, because I had revenue. I didn't have profit.
Yes.
They're not
I
the same
understand that.
thing.
Yes. No. Yeah. 2 very different things. Yes.
I had rainmaking. Right now, I'm good at rainmaking, so that one wasn't a big deal. But managing it and figuring out the right types for a professional service firm, because not everything is the right fit for a professional service firm, and also just understanding your clientele. So we're business to business, right, versus business to consumer, and that changes how you market. Right.
Extreme. Yeah. It's huge
so,
difference.
Right. But if you don't know that, you're going to spend money on SEO and stuff that is not going to do anything for you. Right. And then time management, which was my biggest problem, and staffing, right. Helping you manage people and how to do that. Right. So those are the
people for the right
the
spots.
4 pillars, right, of their management. And so we're getting all this, you should do this and you should do this. And right. And so we were taking all this in and then synthesizing and then trying things, and some things that worked and some things we had to tweak. And it took a couple of years, honestly. It took about 2 years. In 2 years, we doubled our revenue. We more than doubled our profit. We more than doubled our staff.
Wow.
And I probably work 50 hours a week versus 70 or more, which we were doing I was doing before.
Yeah, and you have 2 little kids.
And things like I actually take vacations and take time off.
What's
and
that?
How
do you spell that?
So one of the things with the coaching is you're supposed to take a certain number of days off a year. That's one of the goals. So this year I am taking 5 weeks off.
Good for you.
So I just got back from 2 weeks where I was
2
gone.
weeks.
When I was gone for 2 weeks. I did not talk to one client in 2 weeks.
How did you feel?
I loved it. And I love my clients, right? I love what I do. But honestly, I came back rejuvenated and motivated and
inspired.
I'm much more helpful than I was before because I was burnt and tired because I needed the vacation, right? And we've built the team so that I can take 2 weeks off and the firm functions with me being gone for 2 weeks.
Right.
That I talk about a firm's life cycle as much as like a child. Right. So when I first started, it's a 1-year-old, right? You can't leave a 1-year-old alone for 2 weeks. Things are not going to go well. No. Right. It will not be around when you get back. No. I have an 8-year-old now. Right. So I can check in and I can watch, right? But it can manage and feed itself and, it can survive. And we have an amazing team, which again, they want to be there. We've built the right culture. We're a lifestyle firm and that's a big deal. So
a lot of law firms are not lifestyle firms, are they?
Well, law firms focus on billable hours. Right. So when you go look for a job part of the ad is going to say how many billable hours you're expected to do. And that's a business decision that the person makes of how many billable hours am I willing to commit to? Yes. We don't talk in billable hours at our firm.
Nice.
So the way our firm works, and we're blessed in that, again, I'm a good rainmaker. So I hire seasoned attorneys who have the experience so they can do the work without me babysitting them, but who don't want to go out and get business. I enjoy it, but most people don't. Right. That the networking and the schmoozing and the
it's a lot of energy.
Most people don't want to do this. Yes. And so someone who's been doing this for 30 years and that's just not the skill set they've developed, they're happy to make a good living, work regular hours and have the work there for them. Yes. Right. So that's the model we've built. So their compensation is based upon what they want to do. Oh. So based upon their hourly rate, they have to bill 3 times what they get paid. So if I'm paying them $150,000 a year, they need to bill $450,000 a year. Okay. At our billable hour for them, that's about 4 hours a day. Right?
Very doable.
So a normal, reasonable amount of time, for them what they have to bill. 'Cause people don't understand what we bill and how many hours we work are not the same thing. Exactly. A lot of what you do isn't billable. Right. But so for 4 hours a day, they can make a good living and have, a normal life. Yeah. Right. And so it's a really attractive model where no one's pushing you and there's not that, and they're not worried about, there's no competition within the office of this is my client, this is your client, right? All that drama. We work as a team and it's our clients. Right. Right. And so we built a model that's outside the norm, but for us has been unbelievable.
And as a business owner, I know I chose the way I want to run my business. Yep. And if somebody doesn't care for it, this is not the place for them. Right. But I'm very clear. I have dogs. I have a cat. It's very relaxed, but we're very serious about what we do. Right. And if you don't like to laugh and you don't like to have fun, and there are those people that just have never fit in because they don't feel it's their place. It's whatever it is. But I chose, and much like you chose, to run it this way, no matter what other people have done and said. And I think at the end of every year, I see we have become different role models. And perhaps inspired those who are working with us or near us to be something different and not have to fit into a mold. This is what you have to do when you run a law firm or a marketing firm, you know?
Yep.
And
I think it goes to once you can get over I got to pay the bills. Right. When you start, we are very selective of what clients we take. So we don't take on a large swath of real estate business. And part of our vetting process is this the right fit for us?
Yes.
Right. And it's as much for the client's benefit as ours, because they're not going to be happy if we're not the right fit for them any more than we're not going to be happy the other way around.
Exactly.
But you don't start out like that.
No, you take anything when you have to put
what walks in the door.
Yeah, as I say, when you have to put cookies in the cupboard, you take what you can.
Right.
But when you get to that place where you can afford to fire clients, hire the ones, and interview the clients,
right,
that is a very wonderful space.
Well, and that's where we're at, and that's where you're able to build these things the way you choose to, right? Once you've hit that point, it's inertia, right? That, you know, I'm not worried about where the next...
Yeah.
We get 3 to 4 referral calls a day, whatever,
which is
1 to
amazing.
new clients a day, right?
That's just amazing.
And that's with us selecting out at least half of what walks in the door. Right. And so once you've built that, then you can curate it, right? Both for your staff, you curate your staff and you curate your clients.
Yes.
And then it's a happy, people enjoy coming to work.
Right.
They like their job.
Yes.
Right. They're happy. The clients are happy. Right. It all circles and works together, right? So we have a pleasant place so you're going to find people who want that.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And not every hire's perfect.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not the right fit.
Right.
But we've been, and think about what kind of environment we've been in from a hiring standpoint. We have not had a problem hiring.
Yeah. No, and I think it becomes a breath of fresh air when the people find our firms. Yeah. And they think, wow, is this for real?
They don't believe me.
Right. We've had many people that we will hire right out of college because we're teachers. We like to teach. And we fully say, we don't expect you to be here for years upon years.
Right.
Brian and I think we're lucky if they'll stay 2 or 3 years. But that's kind of wishful thinking because they always have this idea they want to go to a big firm. They want that experience. And we say, yes, go have that experience. Go to the big firm, young grasshopper. And they go. And we've kept in touch, I would say, with 70% of the people who have worked for us.
Right.
And there are a couple that have come back on a project basis or things like that. And they said, oh my gosh, you're so right. And then there's the people who have been in the big firm and they see us and they just, I can relax. I can wear my sneakers. I can wear shorts during the summer. I can relax and have fun.
Yeah. Well, that's our model with our attorneys is taking those people who've been through that, right? The law profession will beat you up and spit you out, right? Yeah. It is not pleasant or easy, and the expectations and there's a reason the burnout numbers and the alcoholism numbers and
drug abuse.
It is. There's a reason.
Yes.
So the people who've been there, done that, and are ready, at that back end of their career to just have a happy place to finish out are the fit for us, right? Yeah. And they're happy and do their thing and
valued,
right? Yep. And we appreciate them, and they enjoy what they do, right? And they don't have those pressures that were on them, and they can have time with their families and be who they want to be.
Well,
right?
I think as soon as you took away that billable hour demon,
correct,
then it allows them to be normal. You know?
It's funny because I think if we had billable hour requirements, they'd probably bill less.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a interesting psychology, right? They just do their thing, and they're happy to do their thing, and they're not thinking about it.
Right.
It just happens. Right. I mean, that's just the real world. Like,
sure.
I'm not thinking about how much money I can make on any particular file when I'm working on it. I am trying to solve the problem at the most efficient, most cost-effective manner. It means I make less per deal, but they come back and they bring their friends. It works out just fine, right? So it really goes to that, where are we coming at each problem with? And when we're coming at it with what's the client's best interest, and my staff are in that same boat, right? They're not worried about, I have to make this many billable hours off of this file.
Exactly.
Right? Because they don't have that mindset either. Then we really are going at it from, how can we mitigate and manage this situation for your best interest? And so it just makes for a positive experience on both sides. Right.
So you have a young daughter and a young son. Are you aware of the influence role modeling that you're doing for them?
I see it. My kids play Office.
I did too. My dad was a business owner. I played Office.
So, and it's interesting that, because I still work a lot, right? And they still see me work a lot. And so we're blessed in that my husband does work with me at the firm now. He left that job and is our operations manager at our firm. Perfect. And it was a choice we made as the firm was growing to bank on ourselves, right? Because literally we would be at home fighting over who got to go to work on the weekend, and I need to work late tonight. Well, someone has to watch the kids, right? There was this constant struggle because we were both trying to build careers, right? And we were like, okay, we need to be in the same boat, going in the same direction.
Yes.
And why did we have kids if we're never going to be there?
Yeah.
And so bringing Fred into the business, he takes the kids to school, he picks them up from school, and is like, he's on the school board. He's very involved with the children. He still does work. He, he's an integral part of the firm and the operations, but his priority is our household and our children. And so I'm often the one who's not home, whether it's I'm at a networking event or I'm at a speaking engagement.
Or doing a podcast.
Or, so they do. And you see that modeling in their behavior. But I also see that, and it was the same with my older daughter. I mean, I literally drug her to law school with me classes.
Oh, I bet she loved that.
Oh, she remembers.
Yes.
She still tells me about it.
Yes.
Even at 30.
Yes.
She remembers. And, it's funny because she's made different choices. And my daughter's smarter than I am. She was valedictorian at Oaks Christian.
Oh, my.
Went to Vanderbilt on a full ride scholarship. Double majored in computer science and math with an engineering management minor.
Whoa.
Right? So she's a stay-at-home mom. So
for now,
she loves it, right? She's happy as a clam, and I would have slit my throat if I had to stay home and be a mom. But those examples led her to that.
Sure.
Right? Despite she could be doing what I'm doing in spades. She's made those choices, which I honor and appreciate completely.
Yeah.
But my kids, I see that modeling in my younger children too, right? So their behavior, how they problem solve, right? And as a parent, making sure that I'm helping them do those things. I mean, I think we as parents have made a lot of mistakes as a group in trying to buffer challenges and everybody getting a trophy and nobody fails. And
I agree 100%.
Right. And so, it was something I really focused on with my older daughter, and I do with my younger children. They're not good at everything. And I tell them
that's okay.
It's okay. This is not your thing.
It's not your strength.
And, yes, you're going to struggle with your homework sometimes. I'm not going to do it for you. Right. And, maybe making friends is challenging. We're going to have to go outside the box, but you need to actually make them do that. You don't go fix it for them.
Yeah. They have to walk through the struggles.
And so I I raise them the way I work with my staff, right? Because it's the same thing.
Sure.
They are learning, my staff are amazing technicians.
Yeah.
But customer service isn't necessarily where their starting point is, right?
Gotcha.
Because again, law school doesn't
Doesn't
teach you.
teach
That's not the mindset of law school. So often that's where my role is helping them learn those skills and learn how to communicate both with the other side or with the client to, again, get to the result we're trying to get to. So I say I parent my staff just like I parent my kids of, I need you to go out there. I'll be right here if you need me, but you're going to.
I'm your training wheels,
right, but you're going to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
No, it's a great
And
way.
it means sometimes we fall down.
Everybody falls down. We fall down as business owners, moms.
Correct.
And it's what we choose, the language we use, and say, yeah, I messed up on that one.
Yep.
I own that one. And it's okay.
Well, and that I think is the biggest part of it is we do make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes.
Sure.
We step up. In particular, I take full responsibility ultimately for everything.
Yeah.
So if there's a mistake, I'm the one who's, coughing up whatever it is to resolve it and fix it and manage it.
Right.
That's what you do.
Yep.
Right. I get the rewards. I also get the risk. Right.
Yep. We do the dirty work when we have to.
Yeah.
And it's not pleasant. But then I stop and think, okay, what are my team members learning by watching me go through this?
You can't have the good without the bad.
No.
It doesn't happen.
No.
So if you think it's all going to be, sunshine and butterflies and roses, you're going to be disappointed really quick.
Right.
And it's not going to work. Right. So you have to be prepared to manage the hard things.
Yeah.
Just as, and some days I go home and I cry.
Sure. Oh,
Right?
Absolutely.
And some days I'm like, why am I doing this?
Yeah. Where am I going? What did I sign up for?
Right?
Yep. Absolutely.
But way more days I go home saying, you know what, someone's life is better because we were involved.
Yes.
And we mitigated and we solved a problem. And, and the reality is sometimes my clients make mistakes, right?
Oh,
just like
yeah.
we do, right?
Yeah.
And if their risk was $200,000 and I've gotten them out for $10,000 or $20,000, that's a win.
That's an absolute win.
Right. But that's only a win if we've set the right expectations, right? So, again, it goes back to your win is managing, right? It's not part of our mission statement is win-win. So it only works when it's a win-win outcome.
Yes.
Even in litigation, a win-win outcome is going to be better for everyone than a win-lose, right? So again, that pit bull, tear them apart.
Not
you don't
interested.
win. You don't. There's no win.
No.
In that. So that's that mindset. Circles all the way back, and that's how we get to where we're at and what. And then so I go home a lot of days with someone has heartfeltly said, my life is better because you were in it, right? And so that's what gets you up.
Yeah.
At 4:30 the next day.
Yep. And you say, that's why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Right.
Because I made somebody's life better. And
Correct.
And when they acknowledge that, it's a great day.
And I would say almost every day someone says thank you. I really am that blessed that almost every day I hear that. Some days I hear a lot of bad things too.
Sure. Sure. But that comes with the territory.
We're dealing with, everything I'm dealing with is acrimony, right? People don't call their attorneys because things are going well.
Yeah.
Right.
Hey.
Oh, I had to tell you about this great file. And
Yeah. No.
So
somebody's got a problem.
The starting point is always a problem. So I spend my day dealing with problems. And so you can get really depressed.
Sure.
And you can feel defeated. And sometimes the problems are really scary. And you're like, how are we going to deal with this? What, sometimes it's really hard. But it's doing the best you can and making the most of the situation. And the reality is we've made it work I've had clients lose millions of dollars in wire fraud.
Oh my, yes.
And we've had to figure out and manage those situations. Not one client has gone out of business. on our watch
Whoa.
with a wire fraud.
Whoa.
We have saved everyone so far.
That's a great testimony to what
I mean,
you guys
that's, that's the kind of stuff. And we're dealing with real issues,
do.
right?
Yeah, you're saving not only, you are saving lives and livelihoods.
Right. I mean, we're keeping the economy going. We're keeping people's families. Right. And I feel like that with my firm, right? It's not, I have 12 families I am responsible for.
Yes.
Right. That, when COVID hit.
Yes.
Oh my God. Right.
How am I going to
keep all these people?
That's my first,
right.
My first question isn't how am I going to survive?
No.
It is how am I going to keep my team members in place? What do I need to do?
Right.
How can I protect them?
That was a wake up call, right?
Yeah.
I had never been in a place, black swan, right?
Yeah.
Never been in a place where I saw that coming. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I literally had to keep food in people's mouths and keep things going. And at the time we were doing business in the cannabis space. Mm-hmm. So we were not eligible for a PPP loan.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't do it.
So I didn't get any money.
Oh boy.
I made it work without it.
Sure.
Right. And things like I was doing daily updates. We were putting out notices with our constant contact of these are the rules. This is what people are saying. Because our escrow companies were essential, right? They're a financial service.
Sure.
So they couldn't shut down. But they're trying to be in the office, managing people's money during curfews, right? And so literally every day we're like, okay, this is what you can do. This is, we were literally writing attorney opinion letters for people to keep in their car with them.
Right.
Because they'd be driving home during curfew or after curfew and they were worried about the police pulling them over. Oh and so they would have an attorney letter from us saying, you're an essential, this is an essential service. I'm going to my job. So that because they were scared that they were going to get arrested for trying to do their job.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
The fear. And so we were there every day putting out stuff and people our business grew because they felt like they had a support system and they knew we were there.
Yeah.
Right. And so we did things we weren't doing before. Right. We wrote policies and procedures manuals. We negotiated with the regulator to allow them to work remotely. We got, because of things that were going on, we were doing things, employee issues, all kinds of stuff that wasn't what we would normally do, but we were keeping people, again, keeping the economy going, keeping businesses going. And escrow companies are almost all women owned, right? These are small women owned businesses just like us,
sure,
right, who were trying to make it work, and we were able to be there for them, and then they were there for us.
Amazing.
So yeah.
You love what you do.
I do, which is weird.
It's evident. Yeah. What's wrong with you?
It's weird.
What's wrong with you?
No, I do love. I have a passion. It's not just a job.
It really oozes from you, and that's what's so wonderful about your story. Is you are not just along for the ride. This means a lot to you.
I believe that we're making the world better, right? And that's why I went to law school at the end of the day, right? That's why I wanted to be a psychiatrist, right?
True.
That desire to be of service is always been there. It was just how. And I've been blessed to find a good how for me, right? That has been a good fit, and that I can go home every day knowing I've helped people, right? The rest of it all just happens, right? I don't worry about, the rest of it. Yes, I've done well because of what I do. But that's just gravy.
Right.
That's, I don't do this because of the money.
Right.
If there wasn't money, I might have to do something else, right? I'm human and I have responsibilities, but that really is ancillary.
I prefer to lead with an outstretched, with a giving heart and not an outstretched hand.
Correct.
And it rewards tenfold.
You get way more than you give.
Yeah.
I don't know how it works. I don't know why. I don't care.
No.
But honestly, you see it, right? When you work with other business owners and professionals, you see who's coming at it from that space.
Yes.
And they're the ones who are making it work, right? Networking follows the 80-20 rule, just like everything else.
Big time.
Right? And 20% of the people do 80% of the business. And those 20 people are the ones who are out there actively trying to get business for other people.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And those are the ones who are successful at it.
Being connected. Jen, thank you for being with me today. This is a great story. I so appreciate you being here.
No, this is great.
And we'll talk soon.
All right.
Thanks.
Bye.
You've been listening to the How She Got Her Start podcast, brought to you by Echelon Business Development.
More than just networking, way more.